Hey garden maters, welcome to Corner Homestead. So I'm getting ready to cook dinner for the day, and today I'm going to use a recipe out of one of the old cookbooks that I found at my neighbor's house. Pardon my clothespins, they're just there to mark my pages. But the cookbook I'm using today is the Family Home Cookbook. But the book says it was published in 1963. But a lot of the recipes in it are also from 1956. Doesn't say which one is which. So the one I'm making today is orange pork chops. Sounds really, really good. So I actually have everything on hand for this recipe except for one ingredient. Let me explain about that one. So the one ingredient that I'm not quite sure about, it sounds familiar, but I honestly do not know if they still make it. Like I said, I remember, it seems like my mom used it, and I remember it from that. But I haven't even bothered to look in years to see if they even still make it. So I'm just going to admit it today. I'm not even going to worry about it. But it is called accent. And the recipe would initially call for half a teaspoon of accent. Now the book does tell you what accent is, which just says that it's a brand of monosodium glutamate, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is available everywhere through retail grocery stores. It is a basic seasoning produced solely for natural sources, which is popularly used in its unique property of improving natural food flavors without adding flavor of its own. So, again, I'm just going to admit it today. So as always, I'll have the full recipe at the end of the video. But let's get started on making these orange pork chops. See just how they're going to taste. So the recipe calls for 6 pork chops cut about 1 inch thick. Mine are about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch thick, and I only have 5 of those. But again, I don't think it's going to matter. Just use what you got. So the first thing that we do is we add a little bit of olive oil into the bottom of a pan, fry pan. So it says to wipe the pork chops with a clean, damp cloth. So I just rinsed mine. I'm just going to put them in here because we want to fry them. Apparently with no seasoning. There we go. So we just want to fry our pork chops long enough to get them brown on both sides. Shouldn't take too long. So while the pork chops are browning, I'm going to go ahead and get my onion sliced up because it says you need 2 medium-sized onions. This one's kind of large, so I think, I'm not sure if I'll have to add more. Of course I have more if I need it. It says to just cut them into slices. And again, 2 medium-sized onions, but I think 1 will be plenty. There we go. We just set this aside and wait its turn. So in this bowl, where I'm going to go ahead and combine what it says to do, which is 3/4 cups of orange juice. This is where the orange comes in with the orange pork chops. And then we want 2/3 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. The next to put in is 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Woo. There we go. 1½ teaspoons of ground ginger. So there's 1, about a half. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of poultry seasoning. Let's get it open. 1 teaspoon. We want 1 teaspoon of marjoram. Oh my God, this dark corner is driving me crazy. So 1 teaspoon of marjoram. We want 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to measure it, just going to dump a little in. And the only other thing would be the 1/2 teaspoon of accent, which, as I explained, no clue if it's even still made. So we'll go ahead and mix this up really well. Okay, so now I have my 9x13 casserole dish. My pork chops are browned. It does not say whether you should grease the bottom or not, but to play it safe, I'm going to. I don't want anything to stick in it, and even though it's glass, I don't think it would, but you know, there's always a chance. So you take the pork chops, now they are browned. We're going to lay them on the bottom. So now we take our sliced onions and we put them on top of the pork chops. Just layer them on. This is why I said my 1 large onion was plenty. I didn't need 2 medium. Once I saw what they were actually using them for, I thought, okay, this is plenty. And you can see, it's plenty. Okay, and then our mixture that we made up with the orange juice and all the seasonings, I'm going to dump that in right over top of everything. And I'm going to make sure I get all of the seasonings out of this bowl because they didn't really mix up too well. It smells pretty good now. And this is it. This is all there is to it. Now we're gonna cover it. And this is now going to bake in the oven. So we'll get it in now. So here's our pork chops ready for the oven. Now the book says to bake them at 350 degrees for 1 hour or until the meat is tender and thoroughly cooked through. Now, of course, they say to test for doneness, cut a slit near the bone, make sure there's no pink visible. My pork chops are boneless, so I won't have that problem. So I'm just going to put them in at the 350 and keep a watch. I'll check them in about a half hour, see if they need that extra 30 minutes after that. So now that it's baking, got to figure out what to make with this. I think I can come up with something. So there we have it, garden maters. I decided to make some rice and corn with it. Why not? But the pork itself is the main thing I want to taste. Gotta have a little bit of onion with it. Oh, it's just falling apart. It's so tender, it's falling apart. I did leave it in for the full hour. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, it's very hot. That is really good. You can taste the orange juice or the orange. Come on. But it is definitely not overpowering. And the seasonings, perfect. Really good. So as you saw, it was like no time whatsoever to put it together. 1 hour in the oven, and it turned out perfect. It really did. So like I said, this cookbook is copyrighted 1963, but it says that some of the materials are copyrighted from 1956. And again, the recipes don't state whether they're from 56 or 63. I'm not going to call it old. I'm just not. But this is going to come in handy. I already have things marked in the book that I am preparing to make next. Most of the recipes in the book are prize-winning recipes. And the orange pork chops that I just made, it was a grand prize winner. And the winner of the orange pork chop recipe back then was Mrs. Newman A. Smith from Steens, Mississippi. And it has that she won $500 for the recipe. Now, whether it was in 1956 or 1963, again, it doesn't state, but back then $500 was a pretty good chunk of change, I would think. So yeah, these recipe books from my neighbor are definitely going to come in handy. So please, feel free to make this recipe. Let me know what you think if you do. It's definitely something different I've never had, and it is definitely delicious. So I hope you enjoy the recipe. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Love to have you as part of the community. Love to watch the Garden Invaders grow. So until next time, I love you all. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you on the next video. I gotta eat. I just got to. It's so good.